Welcome to the Well Aligned Podcast. This is your go-to podcast for female founders, whether you're launching a product or service-based business, who want real sales and marketing insights from women who've successfully built and scaled their businesses. I'm Sandy, your host, a brand sales strategist with years of experience in the natural CPG space. I've seen firsthand the challenges and the wins of launching, selling, and growing a brand in today's competitive market. My mission for you, to give you the tools, strategies, and resources you need to thrive. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Well Aligned Podcast. Today we are thrilled to welcome Jenny Q. Williams, the female powerhouse behind St. Louis Closet Company. It's a woman-owned business that has redefined home organization, and Jenny has built a legacy off of smart design tools and organization. From launching out of her garage to becoming one of the most trusted names in custom storage solutions in the Midwest, Jenny's story is one of grit, growth, and giving back. So she's not just designing closets, y'all. She's creating order in chaos. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want order when you're living in chaos? She's elevating lifestyles. So when you have your home organized, your life is organized. And she's also mentoring a new generation of women in business. So in this episode today, we talk about Jenny's story, about how she started in the industry, the necessities for starting your own business, and then we also talk about marketing. And she has 3 go-to tools that she uses in marketing. One, which I feel is very underutilized by nearly everyone that I meet, every business I meet. But she has fine-tuned this one marketing highlight, but I want you to listen in. So it's towards the end of the episode, and it's free. Essentially, it's free. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Get ready to hear how Jenny built her empire and what keeps her motivated, and why her leadership philosophy is rooted in service, style, and staying true to your values. So let's dive in. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming to the Well Aligned Podcast. I'm super excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you, Sandy. And thanks to all your listeners for tuning in. I'm so excited about our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So why don't I just hand it over to you and you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got started in your business?
Okay, great. Well, my name is Jennifer Williams, and I am the owner and founder of St. Louis Closet Company. What we do is we design, manufacture, and install custom closets and organizational systems for homes, primarily homes, but also offices and commercial clients. We do everything from closets to pantries to laundry rooms to garages, home offices, really any area of your home that you need a little organizational help, we can help out. I started my business in 1991, so 34 years ago, and I was in graduate school at St. Louis University, and I was studying communications. Like a lot of communications majors, I had no idea what I wanted to do, right? I was just sort of going to school to go to school and hope I was going to figure it out. And then a friend of mine moved to St. Louis from California, and he set up a custom closet company. Now, in 1991, custom closets were very, very new, especially in the Midwest. People didn't even understand what that was. But he said, Jennifer, I think you would love this. So I got a part-time job, and I learned how to design and sell the custom closets. And it was like a light switch went off. I fell in love with what I was doing. I was always a super organized person. My mom jokes that I was organizing my closet in middle school. And I I saw immediately not only the value, but the joy that was created by this product. Custom closets really do change people's lives, getting them organized. It is just a life changer. So I quit working for the other company, dropped out of graduate school, and I wrote a business plan. And then I got a SBA, a Small Business Administration loan, and I got started, and the rest is history. And here we are 34 years later. We've had a lot of ups and downs along the way. You know, we were in business during 9/11. That was a very scary time. And we were growing, and then 9/11 happened, and we sort of fell off a cliff. Then we built it back up. And then the recession of 2008 really fell off a cliff. Took us years to build back up. And then we hit COVID. Um,
Mhm.
COVID turned out to be great for my business because everybody was stuck at home and they needed to be organized. But we didn't know in the beginning, you know, we closed for 2 weeks because our St. Louis County told us we had to. So we weren't sure. So, you know, it's been a wild ride for 34 years. I love what I do. And I love the feeling that my customers get when we get them organized.
Mhm. I'm sure that's a gratifying feeling to give that to someone. But it sounds as if your career, it flowed effortlessly, right? It just was a natural progression of flow. Were there key indicators that you were looking for as you were looking for that next career step or your future career? Were there things that you were looking for specifically?
Well, first of all, it was not effortlessly. You know, entrepreneurship and owning your own business is, I think, one of the biggest efforts right there, along with, you know, motherhood or or something. I mean, it's a lot of work every day. Um, but if you're doing what you love, right,
Mhm.
then it's not work. It's a challenge. It's fun. It's exciting. Um, Key indicators. Obviously, I needed to start the business with the loan that I got and be able to make the loan payment, right? Once we got the loan paid off, I had to continuously figure out ways to grow the business. Um, Through marketing and advertising, I had to, in order to grow, had to hire more employees. So, you know, the, there was never really key indicators other than I knew that I wanted to own my own business. I knew that I wanted
Mhm.
to succeed. I knew that I wanted to provide the absolute number one highest quality product and service available in St. Louis to my clients. And I figured that if we could do those things, everything else would fall in place.
Great, great. And I'm glad that you highlighted the fact that it does take a lot of effort, because I have listeners on this that listen to this podcast that actually are thinking about starting their own business, but they're not quite sure the investment needed. Not necessarily the financial investment, but just the emotional investment, just the toll that it takes on your family. Can you give a little bit of advice on that as well? Like what is really required of somebody who is starting their own business? What would you say?
Well, we'll start off with 8 to 9 out of 10 small businesses fail in their first 5 years. So it's not easy, right? People say all the time, "Oh, you're so lucky you own your own business." I don't look at it as luck. I look at it as a lot of hard work. And after 34 years, I still show up every day. You do need finances to start your business. And whatever you think you need, you should probably double it, maybe even double it again, because there will always be things that come up that you had no idea or you couldn't plan for. So you have to have the financial background or savings or backing or whatever it is to get your business off the ground and to advertise and market the business so that it grows and becomes a viable business. So you do have to have the finances. But even before the money, right? You have to have a product or a service that you love so much and that you believe in that because you're going to be spending your entire life with this. I mean, it's almost more than a kid, right? I mean, my kids both grew up, went to college, and now they all live on their own. But my business is still here like a little baby every day, needing to be
Mm-hmm.
taken care of. And you never get away from it. I mean, we go on vacations, we take the weekends off, but I am thinking about or working on my business 7 days a week, every day of the year, at night. I dream about my business. I wake up at 5 a.m. and think about my business. You think about all of the fun, exciting things and the ways to grow. But then you also worry about all of the things that can go wrong. And it's not when you see a successful small business owner, it's not luck. It's definitely not luck. It's a lot of work and commitment and time. And, a lot of times your family does have to make sacrifices in order for you to own and run your own business. I know my kids spent their entire life before they went to preschool and kindergarten at my work. I hired a nanny because I wanted to be with my kids, but I couldn't be at home. I had to be at work. So I had a nanny that came to work with me with my kids. And then once they started school, every day after school, I would go pick them up and we would come back to work. So, they've spent their entire life seeing, their mom and their dad. I'm married to an entrepreneur, working around the clock. And that was somewhat of a sacrifice. A great example is we were at my daughter's high school senior spring break trip in Florida in March of 2020. The day the music died and they shut the beaches down and COVID hit. And all of her friends were there and their parents were like, "Oh, we're going to just stay here. We'll finish out the break. We're outside, we're on a beach." But my daughter's mother, me, was like, "Oh no, we're getting in the car. We're going home immediately. What's going to happen to my business? I've got all these employees we have to deal with."
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, 5 years later, and she's still, I was the only one, Mom, who had to come home from spring break. And it was a sacrifice she made because of my business, right? So I think that people that are thinking about starting a business, whether they're young or middle-aged or older, you have to really look at the time commitment and the emotional commitment. And
Mm-hmm.
are you up to that?
Right. 100%. I agree with you. Thank you so much for sharing that because I know there's some people out there who need to hear that.
Mhm.
I also want to ask you the question now, if somebody is considering getting into your category of business, what advice would you give them?
Well, my category would probably be home improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a interior designer or kitchen and bathrooms or appliances or custom closets or really anything having to do with the home. Um, I would recommend, do your research, right? Know who your competitors are going to be before you get, too far in. Know the product, know your suppliers, have all of your resources set up ahead of time. Don't go into business blindly. Don't, start a new business and then, on day one be like, "Oh, I didn't know there was five other people on the same street doing the same thing I'm doing." In today's world, we all have something called Google. And you can do a lot of research about an industry before you even consider getting started. 34 years ago, when I started, we didn't have Google, we didn't have the internet. It was a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of research from, believe it or not, the Yellow Pages and called other custom closet companies around the United States and talked to them about how they got started. So I think that you can have a great idea and you can have a great product, but is there 10 other people with the same idea and the same product literally on your same street doing the same thing? That may not be a good idea. What I always recommend is find a problem, right? Find something that's broken and then create a solution. And then that solution, if it fixed your problem, there's obviously other people that are going to need that. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
great way to come up with an idea. And you should never go into business just for the money. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to open my own business. I'm going to get started because I'm going to make a lot of money. Well, hopefully you do. I mean, that's one of the goals, but that should not be the reason you start your own business.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. The part that you said about creating a solution to a problem, right? That's where all these great ideas start. And don't get into it just for the money. Again, we hope you make a lot of money. We all need money. We all need money. It's very transactional, right? Money's
Right.
always coming and
Absolutely.
going. Don't get in it just for that sole purpose because the love will be lost very soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning. In
Mm-hmm.
the beginning of most startups, there isn't any money, which is
Right.
why we go back to make sure whatever you think you need, double it. Because the startup costs for opening a business, it's a lot. It's very, very
Mm-hmm.
expensive. So, you even Facebook and Google, and Apple, they didn't make any money for years and years and years. So startups don't usually make money. So if you are dependent on a paycheck, if you have bills you have to pay, then maybe you do your startup as a side job or side hustle while you still have a regular paycheck coming in.
Right. Exactly. Now, looking back, is there anything, looking back on your career, is there anything you would have done differently?
Um, I think I would have probably had more money when I started. I was 25. I did not have a cosigner to my SBA loan. I did not have a savings account. I started and financed everything with credit cards. Um, it was it was easy for me at the time because I was not married. I did not have kids. I did not have a mortgage. I did not have a car payment. So it was easy for me to sort of take that risk. So depending on in your life where you are, taking risks can be harder, and starting your own
Hmm.
business is a risk. So I think that I would have, looking back, wished I would have had more money to start because I think I would have spent that money on marketing and advertising and grown my business faster in the beginning than I did. I mean, I started off very slowly. I hung little flyers on people's doors. It was word of mouth. I had my Yellow Pages ad, and we grew, but we grew very slowly in the beginning. And I feel like if I would have jump started that, um, I, I have probably the biggest thing is it's not something I would have changed, but it's something I definitely recommend is when you're hiring people to work for you, really take the time. Entrepreneurs are terrible at hiring people. We are. We're just terrible. We're like, okay, check, check, check. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, here, can you just do this? And along the way, you learn when you own your own business that hiring people that are better than you and smarter than you, and surround yourself by people that maybe it's a stretch to afford their salaries, but those people are going to make your life, your business so much more successful. And I think in the beginning, I did not do a good job probably hiring. I wasn't probably paying enough to get the level of person. So what it did was it put more on me. Once again, entrepreneurs are bad, right? We think we're the only ones that can do anything. We
Hmm.
try to do it
Hmm.
all. We wear ourselves out. And we think, well, I'm not going to pay that much, because I could do that, that, and that. So I think that I could have definitely done better at that. But I also see so many startups today, same thing, thinking, oh, I don't need to hire someone for that. I can do it. Or
Hmm.
hiring people that maybe don't have the skills necessary to take the business to a new level.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I preach to startups continually. I say, listen, you need to hire experts in their field. That's why you're hiring them, right? And let them run with it. Let them do the job. You obviously get the sign off, but surround yourself with people who are going to make your business shine and
Right.
be able to take it to that next level.
Right.
Most
And allow
definitely.
allow you the time to do what you're good at, whatever
Exactly.
that is, whether you're the
Yep.
visionary or you're the salesperson or whatever it is, but allow you, even though owning your own business, as you know, right? We do whatever is necessary to get through the day. If, I mean, for example, right before I got on here with you today, our Amazon order of hand soap did not show up yesterday or today, and we are out of hand soap. Now, do I have a bunch of people that could have run to the store and gotten hand soap? Yes, but they were all busy. So I was like, you know what? I got a half hour. I'm going to jump in my car, go to the store, and got hand soap. So being a business owner, no matter how big or successful you are, you also have to be willing to jump in anywhere needed. Clean the
Most
bathrooms, take out the
definitely.
trash, get
Yep.
the hand soap, whatever it is, and pitch in. And I also think when business owners do those type of things, you garner a lot of respect from your employees. You're not like,
Yes.
oh, I'm too good. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. I can't take out the trash. I'm too important or too busy. That is not and never has been my mentality. I'll do anything I ask anybody that works for me to do.
That's great. I agree with you. Yes. If it has to get done and there's no one else to do it, it lands on you
Right.
sometimes. And you have to
Right.
know that and have to be okay with that, right? So we touched on marketing just a little bit. I was wondering if you could share with the listeners some of your some go-to marketing techniques that you use in your business that have been very successful for you.
Well, if we go back to day one, once again, the flyers that I stapled onto little kids' hangers and walked around neighborhoods, I went directly to the homeowner, right? I mean, you just walked straight up to their door and hung the coupon. That was hugely successful in the beginning. Then obviously as we grew, marketing has changed just so much with the
Hmm.
digital world. I can't even tell you how much has changed, but probably went from the direct to the customer's front door with door hangers to, TV, radio, and direct mail, I would say in the middle stages of my business. But then this thing called the World Wide Web and the internet and social media shows up. And so we still today, I will tell you, we struggle with marketing and advertising because there are so many different platforms, so many different places where people get their news. When I started my business, there was three main channels on TV that you would watch,
Mm-hmm.
ABC, CBS, and NBC, and everybody in St. Louis would sit down and watch their news. So if you could put an ad on one of those news stations, somebody was going to see it. Well, today people get their news from, my daughter gets her news from Snapchat. And so it's very hard for small businesses, I think, to find a direct line to people. 15 years ago, they said people had to see or hear your name. I think it was like 4 to 7 times before they would call you. I think today it's 15 to 25 times
Mm-hmm.
because we're just inundated with so much
Right.
information. We have been very, very successful over the last probably 5 years with social media. The thing about my product at St. Louis Closet Company, the photos, right? If people can see it, they fall in love with a picture, right? We have a very great product in order to show before and afters or the different areas in your home you can organize. So if I can get pictures of my product in front of people, it's been probably the best way to sell. Now, if I was selling, I don't know, an internet service, right? I mean, how do you show a picture of that? So that's a different type of marketing. But we have a very visual product. So our number one source of business is repeats and referrals. Number one, and that should be every small business. And the only way you get there is 100% customer service. You make the customer happy all the time, every time, because those repeats and referrals don't cost you any money. And I try to remind small business owners of that every day. If you have an unhappy customer and a business says, yeah, but I'm not going to fix that. It's going to cost me too much money and I won't make money on that job. Okay, but how much are you going to lose when that customer is saying bad things about your company?
Mm-hmm.
So if you lose money on this one job, but you make them happy, they will tell 10 people. And then those 10 referrals are free. You didn't
Right.
advertise for them.
Right.
So I think repeats and referrals, number one.
Mm-hmm.
For us, number two is social media, Instagram, Twitter. LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere visual. And then we do a lot of, email marketing where we, are emailing out to our clients. We still do some old traditional direct mail postcards. And I'm on a radio show a couple times a month talking about small business. But then also, going back to repeats and referrals, the next best thing is networking. Get out in your community, right? People love to support locally owned businesses. So join your chamber of commerces, join your local trade organizations, go to the neighborhood, I don't know, street party. Whatever it is, have you and your employees out in the community that you serve as much as you can.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, my husband is in real estate and 1 through 3 apply to him as well. And he's in a different category of business, but 1 through 3 apply to him as far as referrals,
Mm-hmm.
right? He hosts a party every year where it's basically a thank you for your business party. And he
Right.
invites all of his clients and he invites his clients' friends. So it's an opportunity right there. You have a captured audience and you're able to network
Right.
immediately. And then social media as well plays an important, huge. YouTube is really big for him. So he gets a lot of referrals just off of his YouTube videos, which is
Yeah.
pretty amazing. So now I'd actually like for you to tell everyone about the services that you offer in your business within your community.
Okay. Well, we touched on this a little bit at the beginning. So,
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis Closet Company, we go into the homes of people. We just service the St. Louis area. We don't service outside of here, but I'm sure your listeners are all over the United States. There are other businesses like mine in most big cities. We offer free estimates. So, we'll come in and we will measure the space, the closet, the area you want to organize. And we sort of talk to you about what are your problem areas? What types of things need to go into this closet? What are your priorities? Talk about your budget. And then we sit down with the client and we design on 3D software, the closet organizer. And then when they purchase the closet, we manufacture everything right here in our manufacturing plant. And then we come back and we install it. So earlier I said we do closets, right? So we can do kids' closets and linen closets and coat closets and walk-in closets. But we also do wardrobe units. There's a lot of older homes in St. Louis in particular that don't have closets at all. It's just a room with 4 walls. So we'll build a wardrobe unit on one wall that maybe has some hanging and drawers and shelving so that people have a place to store their clothes. Laundry rooms. Probably one of the biggest trends over the last 4 or 5 years has been Murphy beds. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we are selling Murphy beds like crazy. And what's happening is the baby boomers are all downsizing, right? They're leaving their 4 and 5 bedroom homes and they're moving into maybe a 2 bedroom condo. So they want to still have a guest bedroom for when they have guests, but they need that space to use maybe as their home office or their exercise room or a TV room. So with a Murphy bed, it only takes up 16 inches of floor space when they're closed. And then you just pull them down when you need them and then you store them back away. So these flexible rooms turn into a really utilitarian space that you can use it for lots of different areas. So Murphy beds are super fun. We've actually installed multiple, like hundreds of Murphy beds in a lot of fire stations because the firemen work on 24-hour rotations, right? So they're there for 24 hours. They sleep. They have their own Murphy bed, their own little wardrobe cabinet. And when they're gone and they go home, they fold up their Murphy bed and the next guy comes in and he has his own Murphy bed. So they don't have to have all these beds set up in the room the whole time. So that's really fun.
Wow, I love that. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
So we do all types of things like that. Um, and with us having the ability to manufacture everything, it's really one of my favorite parts of my business. So many products are not manufactured in the United States anymore. Um, and by having all of the manufacturing in place, I can control the quality, I can control the timeliness of it. And imagine a lot of times we'll go out to a home to install a closet, and maybe the wall's not square or the floor's a little unlevel. and parts and pieces may have to be adjusted or cut down. Well, we can do that in the same day. We don't have to wait to order new parts in. So that's been a really fabulous part of my business. And customers can come to my showroom and actually watch their closets being manufactured. So they love that.
Wow. Wow. You're a rock star, Jennifer.
Well, thank you. Thank you. But
I,
anyway, all of our estimates are free. And
yeah.
for all your listeners not in St. Louis, my only push here is try to find a locally owned business. Shop
Mm-hmm.
small, support
Mm-hmm.
local, um,
Yes.
do your homework ahead of time. Keep your dollars in your community, no matter what your community is. I am a big believer. I mean, we all have to order hand soap on Amazon. I know it. I know we have to
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you make a purchase like this, try to find a locally owned, custom closet company that you're going to know the owner. The owner lives in your community. The money
Mm-hmm.
that you spend is going to stay in your community. And I'm a big, big shop small, support local.
Mm-hmm. I am too. Yeah. If I need something like, let's just say that it's hand soap or what have you, I will actually go to the store to purchase it because it's already made that commute one time. And so I'm also a supporter of local and keeping those dollars within your community. 100%. Now, where can people find you as far as social media and your website?
Okay, so our website is www.saint, and that's ST, lewisclosetco.com. And like I said, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all at St. Louis Closet Co. And if any of your listeners have any questions or anything of me, they can email me directly at Jennifer at stlouisclosetco.com. I'd love to hear from people. And, we're also on YouTube. We've got some really fun videos on YouTube. We recently, I don't know if you're familiar with Nelly.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very
Mm-hmm.
famous rapper. He's from St. Louis. We love Nelly. Everybody in St. Louis loves Nelly. He just hired us to organize his entire studio, and we made a video with me and Nelly. And it's really exciting, so everybody should tune into that.
I will share that in the show notes. I actually saw it.
It's
It
really
was
fun.
fun. Yeah,
And
it
he
was
is
fun.
he is the nicest. He was so excited. I showed up there and I just thought we were going to take a couple pictures. And he was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh no, I got this whole idea. We're going to do an HGTV reveal and I'm going to open the door and we're going to I mean, this was all his idea." And I was like, "Okay." I was thinking, you know, "Oh my gosh, am I going to because I've been a fan for 25 years." And I was
Yeah.
just excited to meet him, much less know
Right.
we're the one. And he spent 2 hours with us that day.
Oh, that's so kind.
Amazing.
Yeah. I love Nelly.
Yeah.
So he's come to Denver a few times. So,
Yeah.
oh, what a sweet guy.
He is a good guy. He's a good guy.
My last question for you, any favorite books that you can share that are on your, let's say, your book stand that you want to share with the listeners, you want to pass along?
Well, right now I'm reading a book, Styles of Joy.
Okay.
Styles of Joy. It's by S.C. Perot, who is, everybody knows Ross Perot's granddaughter. She's a professor at Vanderbilt University, and she wrote this amazing book about joy, right? How do we find joy? How do we keep joy in our lives? How do we spread joy to others? Organization is something that I feel like if people can get organized, even if it's just one drawer, it doesn't have to be your whole home. Just start small. The joy that that little bit of organization will bring you because it will save you time. You'll be excited about it. It will start spreading to other areas of your life. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime I can find a book that's about happiness, and life is hard, right? We live in an environment where, the political environment and the stress of the stock market and, the constant 24-hour news cycle. I feel like we need to go back to basic small things of, you know, spreading joy, being happy, finding those little times or sparks in your life that you can just maybe get outside and turn off your phone. I go for a 5 mile walk every morning. And whether it's raining or snowing or anything, I do it every single day. And that little hour and a half window is really, the time that creates joy in my life. It's
Mm-hmm.
my time to meditate or listen to podcasts like yours or just, just look around, right? And be outside.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's just those little moments of joy throughout the day can make such a huge impact
Absolutely.
on how you live your day. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the Well Aligned podcast, Jennifer. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure the listeners did as well, and just learning more about your business. So I want to thank you.
Well, thank you, Sandy. It's been great.
Thank you. Well, what an incredible conversation we had today with Jenny of St. Louis Closet Company. She is a true example of what happens when your passion meets your purpose. And one of the things that stood out most is Jenny's dedication to building long-term relationships, not just one-time transactions. You have to think beyond that one-time transaction. Remember what I shared with you in the intro about that one marketing tip that I feel is underutilized, and she's doing it. Jenny's doing it. She's executing it in her business. Her business thrives on repeat and referral clients. And it's a true testament to the trust she's earned over the years and the consistent quality her team is really delivering. And what a fun fact that we learned about the fact that she designed Nelly's closet. You know, Nelly the singer. How fun is that? Super, super fun. Because whether it's going to be a Grammy-winning superstar or your next door neighbor, Jenny's going to bring that same level of care and creativity to every single project. And I encourage everyone to view their business. That's the takeaway today, is to view your business that way. And if you're looking for inspiration on how to build a business that people keep coming back to, I encourage you to check out her website, stlouisclosetco.com. You can also reach out to Jenny at jennifer@stlouisclosetco.com. So thanks for tuning in. I'll have everything in the show notes, and we will see you next time.